But I like what you're saying here, right? And just for those listeners who don't understand the differences, right? Because we're talking military pay scales right now. So we're talking officers, enlisted, and warrant officers. Generally, officers are in positions anywhere between 18, 24 months max. And you start looking at enlisted, generally they're longer. You're looking at maybe in some cases, when the operational tempo isn't that high, they may be there for about 36 months. Warrant officers are more specialized in technicians. So when you look at what they do, whatever they do, that's what they do. That's it. That's it. Now, don't get me wrong. They are in leadership positions as well. They are leaders. They are officers. And so when you look at the succession of command, you have officers, warrant officers, and then enlisted. And generally, the way it works, you will find in certain situations, some warrant officers can actually be in charge of organizations as well. So I want to make sure I lay that out there. So when we start talking about leadership, I want you to understand that, Mr. Parks here, he has the best of like all perspectives when it comes down to it. He was enlisted, with the Sergeant First Class, I think. Yeah. And then he transitioned and became a warrant officer. And then as a warrant, he became more specialized, still leading and teaching and training, but more focused on being a subject matter expert in his field. And so when he's talking about these things, he's talking about them from a number of different perspectives. For me, I'm only going to talk from an enlisted perspective and as a leader in the civilian sector as well. So that's what makes this conversation so good. And I think you're 100% correct. Because from my experience being in the contracting world as a leader, there were some people that, we had to let go. And I'm just going to be honest with you. That's the worst part of being a leader, having to fire anybody. It's the worst thing that you can ever want to do because you start thinking the secondary and tertiary effects for the person, even though their behavior may warrant the termination that's coming. And so from my experience, it's just like you said, man, it's like, do you have your ducks in a row? You need to talk to your supervisor, make sure that everybody in the corporate is tracking exactly what's going on. If they don't work for your company, if they work for another company, now that cross-company conversation got to take place because the other company got to do it. Only thing you can do it, especially if you're the prime, you can just tell them they can't come back on the installation, but you can't really terminate them. That's the other company's job. And they don't necessarily have to terminate. They can move him off from one contract to another contract. So it's just a number of different things in there. And it's just, it's challenges. That's really what it boils down to, man. Leadership challenges. and I think this is good because I don't know, like say for that person that's actually transitioning right now, these are some things that are actually good information to know while you're in the midst of deciding, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to become a contractor? Do I want to go work as a government, as a civilian for the government, or do I just want to get a job and just wait for that, whatever comes open? So these are some of the things that, people have to decide. Now, we're talking about making a mental shift here. That's really what it is. Going from a very structured leadership style that tells you how to be a leader, teaches you how to be the leader, and then tells you how to do certain things based upon the Uniform Code of Military Justice, like you just talked about, into a and I'm not, and I want to make sure I'm clear. We're not bashing the contracting world. That's not what we're doing. We're just bringing awareness to the differences of leadership style. That's it. But on the other hand, you have different leadership styles. You have to keep in mind from the perspective of the corporate world, the brand is the company. Right? That's numero uno. Even though, like you said in the beginning, your biggest value, your biggest resource in the organization is people. But the biggest thing that the company is going to protect is the company. So you can't challenge the branding of the company. When you start going against company values, something's going to happen. It's inevitable. How do we make that mental shift, man? What was like when you made your shift? What was that like? Kind of help us understand that.
Well, the good news about my mental shift was that I was able to be just an employee. And once you're just an employee, I don't have any responsibilities. No one's reporting to me. I'm not giving any reports. I'm just an employee. I'm just one person here to do my job. That allowed me to sit back and really observe what's going on. How am I being led? Sometimes when you're transitioning from the military, and of course, if you had a 20 plus year career, you were a leader of sorts. I don't care what your rank is. You are a leader of people. And sometimes at a very high level, sometimes at a mid-level, kind of mid-management level. But still, you
Mhm.
still lead people.
Right.
If you can't revert back to being led and understand how is the organization functioning, let me sit back. Sometimes in the military, when you go from a command to a command, you get there and they say, wait 90 days.
Yeah.
When you get there, don't try to change everything in one time. Wait about 90 days. And I would say that if you can, I would say do the same thing in the contracting world. When you get on the contract, be an employee, be a good employee, first of all, but then just observe all the different levels of leadership that are in that organization.
Absolutely.
And then for me, once I did that, I was in, and I was just able to sit back and say, okay, this is what the person that's directly in charge of me, we'll call them the site lead, what the
Right.
site lead does. And then from the site lead, this is what the PM or the project manager does. And then who does the project manager talk to?
Right.
And I just had to figure out that hierarchy of the organization.
Right.
And once I figured that out, and then in there, you know, for large contracts, you may not ever see the project manager or the program manager. You may never see them physically. They
Right.
may be in Huntsville, Alabama, or Manassas, Virginia, wherever they sit at.
Right.
But there's still a person in your hierarchy. Yeah, who's incorporating the company values? Who's giving that to you?
Yeah.
Again, they always give you in your onboarding the words the company wants you to know.
Yeah.
And you got to sign it that says, I understand these company values of company X.
Right.
Sure. But what is not clear is, how do I navigate that in my situation? How do I get from, okay, I was a leader of some sort in the military. If I'm going to be a leader in this world, who do I talk to? How do I do it?
Right.
How do I navigate it?
Yeah.
One of the biggest things, once I did get in a position of leadership as a contractor after about a year and a half, again, I tap my hat to you, sir. You put me in a great position. But once I finally fell into a leadership position, I was able to have about a year and some change of experience of witnessing you, Sheila, all these people that were in my path of understanding contracting.
Yeah.
I could very methodically make notes of, okay, this worked.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm looking at the people that I work with.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Everyone's not military here.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Everyone didn't retire.
Right.
Everyone doesn't have the same financial security
That's right.
that everyone has.
Yeah.
If you're retiring, you're going to probably get a retirement check. You may get a VA check. Wherever you have funds that are coming in.
Right.
So if you walk off this job tomorrow, you're probably going to be okay financially.
Right.
Everyone's not in that predicament,
Exactly.
in the contracting world. So as I looked through the climate, I said, okay, now that I have a couple of people I'm in charge of, I want to make sure they understand that I'm there for them as a person.
Absolutely.
First of all. And then after that, like we said earlier, what are your goals? How long you want to be here? Because I also found out that in the contracting world, you're always looking for another contract. I don't care what people tell you. People may say, oh, I'm so loyal to the guy. And I'm loyal to my contracting company right now. I love them to death.
Yeah.
I'm not actively looking for one.
Right.
But there are times within the contract when you start talking about the length of the contract
Mhm.
and understanding, when you're going from a bidding year to you already got 2 or 3 years of time that you're going to be on there. All that in my mental capacity, I had to figure out, okay, what does that mean? And then how does that transition back to how I'm leading?
Yeah.
Is there a difference?
Yeah.
And for me, there's no difference.
Yeah.
Whether I know we're going to have this contract for 5 years or we're going to have it for maybe 2 months,
Yeah.
I'm going to lead you the same way, because the leadership that I exude now, I'm going to exude wherever I'm at.
Yeah.
Because that's about the people. And my last part about understanding, how did I get the mental change from there, was I had to go back to understanding relationships. Business relationships, work relationships. As a military person, I don't really have to build them.
Right.
I come in with these 4 dots on my chest as a CW4 warrant officer. You're just going to respect that.
Yeah.
It sounds a little cocky to say, but When you come in with those four dots in the military, people just assume you know stuff,
Right.
and they don't really challenge you. The more dots you get, the least they challenge you,
Right.
right? So I come in with that, kind of cachet in the military world. In the civilian world, I'm just Brian Parks.
Hmm.
Nobody knows my background until I give them my whole resume. I have to, and I'm not the person that gives my resume every time I meet someone. Some
Right.
people, I don't.
Right.
But over time, if you understand who I am and I show you who I am, you see my work ethic, you see how I operate, you see the importance I have about understanding the relationships and people, then it becomes pretty clear that this person is here to help me and help the company be better.
Yeah. Man, that was good. That was good. See, this is why I like this conversation, because I've had several leadership conversations before. There's more so of theory and practice, right? We're talking about like literally practical examples. Like this is the things that you do on the ground. Like when situation X shows up, here are your alternative courses of action. And so I love this because one of the things that I know that most people retiring from the military or even retiring in general, that there is that that thought in your head, right? Like, what's next for me? What does that look like? What am I going to be faced with? How will these people, receive me? So it's all types of, and most people don't like saying it, right? But it's all types of anxiety that you're going to go through, and you gotta manage that transition. Um, I would say, and I'm gonna put you on the spot just because you said something earlier. Um, so you gotta like manage that transition, that mental jump from military to civilian, and for me, like I got the opportunity to be an employee. That's pretty much what it was. I went from being an operations NCOIC, and then going to Fort Sill, and I was just that guy. And that guy looked at, he just looked at, I think I was there for like a month. And Dave looked at my information, and then he said, you got a copy of your ERB. So I gave it to him. He said, oh, you did this. Okay, so you are our new primary CPOF instructor. Man, I don't even like CPOF, but it's fine. And it was a little turbulence because of that, because one person was really wanted to teach CPOF, and so they made that person my alternate. But we developed a relationship, kind of getting back to what you're saying. And so we developed a relationship. In fact, we all became very close. And then next thing you know, here it is, I'm in Fort Gordon, right? Fast forward now, there was this guy who I just happen to know from the Army, a guy named Sean Perry, right? So he calls me before I even leave Oklahoma and said, hey, man, I hear you're on the way. I said, okay. And then we just started talking. It took me a minute to realize who I was talking to. And so that was part of my transition. It was a smooth transition going from Fort Sill to Fort Gordon because I had a connection there already. And so once I got there, he received me in, we had a great conversation. Real talk, when I first got there, I lost my wallet. I had no identity whatsoever. So if it wasn't for him, I would have been lost in the sauce. But he helped me out. Got to the point to where I was able to cross over the border, go to South Carolina, get a driver's license. That's a whole nother story. And then I came back. Right? I went to the Social Security office, got a piece of paper after I sent for a new Social Security card, and that's how I was able to get my retirement ID card back. And man, from that point on, it was just again being a worker. I was there. I was enjoying my job. And then next thing you know, he got a promotion. So he says, "You're the man." I said, "Wait, what?" Wait, what? Just that fast, huh? He's like, "Yeah, man." He said, He said, "Trust me, I know you. You can do it." And I was like, "Okay." And so the footprint was just astronomical, like 60 something people. But we had a system, and so I didn't recreate the wheel, like you said. I just fell in on his system, and then just made it work for me as well. And just like you made mention, getting to know your people. You can't talk to everybody the exact same kind of way. And you see me in action, man. Some days it was easy, coasting. And other days it was like, where's the fire? Where's the fire? Where's the fire? And this is reality. And if this was, again, on the other side of the fence, if this was the military, it was just come to my office. That's it. That's it. That's all you got to do. They'll show up, you put the fire out, everybody going about their merry way. Different. Now I got to go over there. I'm gonna meet you where you are because I want the context of the fire. I don't want the fire brought to me. I need to go see the context of it. So that was kind of like my transition. It was like understanding, kind of like you, just being able to transition from being in charge to just stepping back and accepting the fact that I am not the leader coming out the gate. I wasn't even looking to be the leader, to be honest with you.
Me neither.
Leadership found me. So
Me neither. But that's a testament to. I'm going to pat myself on the back, and I'm going to pat you on the back too, because that's a
thank you, sir.
testament to who you are as a person and then a leader. Because when people see you and they see you operate, like you said, they know, even if they didn't even look at your ERB or your records, your military records or anything, once you're in the job for a little while, people can recognize it. Oh, hold on, this guy or gal's doing something different than the other people.
Right. Right.
This guy or gal's coming in early. They're making sure the lessons are right. They're reviewing the lessons with everybody to make sure it's going on. This is just an instructional role, but they're coming in and they're doing these extra things without anyone ever telling them to do that, because that's just who they are.
Right.
So I don't know what led for me to be in this position other than I knew what Dwayne Dwyer. I take my hat off to you. But I mean, I was, and you know this, but I was part of a transition from one contract to the other where people were literally like not knowing if they were going to work at all there anymore. Right. And it was a huge thing. And, throughout that process, which is some months now, very, very unclear of how the contract was going to go.
Right.
Almost every person I talked to in that hierarchy of people, that hierarchy of people that I talked about earlier, Brian, you're going to be okay. Brian, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, how did you know that? And it got to the point where, Brian, your name's on the board somewhere. And it's on the side of, we can't get rid of him.
Right.
Well, how did I get, in my mind, I'm like, how did I get there? I've just been an employee. I've just come to work. I've done what I'm supposed to do. But later on, I just kind of figured out that someone somewhere said, this guy's work ethic, this guy's ability to perform has been pretty good. And it's working for this type of job. So if we're going to transition to a totally different contract, but it's in this guy's wheelhouse, why don't we take this guy and put him over there and see how it works?
Right.
And then from there, I again have to, show that I can have the capacity to be in this position.
Right.
But that mental shift, even from there to there, was different.
Yeah.
And once I said, okay, someone somewhere thinks I'm a pretty smart dude, because like I said, before I had the shield of, I come in here with these 4 dots on my chest. This rank shows you I'm a smart person. I know probably what I'm talking about. I had to build that over time in this small contracting environment. Now I say small because where I work at, there's hundreds and hundreds of people that work there, but there's only really, I'd say 10 to 20 people that if everything went bad, they're going to keep these 10 to 20 people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can't, and the other thing I say is you can't manufacture that. You can't fake it.
I like that.
It's just evident in what you do. Like you said, Sean Perry saw you, he knows you. He knows you're going to get in there and do what you do. But that doesn't mean that you were going to be successful when you got there.
Right.
You had to come and do the work. You had to show, I can manage this. I got this. And it doesn't always require, this is the other thing I'll say about people transitioning. It doesn't always require you go and get all these 15 letters behind your name. And it's good to get certifications. It's good to have qualification certs and all that. That's great stuff.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, that doesn't mean you're going to come in and be a good leader of people.
Right.
Because you have to get in there and cultivate these relationships.
Yeah.
Between you and the employees, you and the government, or you and whoever the customer is. You have to be the go-between between the customer, the company, and the employees.
Yeah.
Who's doing that? And so if you're able to do that pretty good, you'll probably be in a good position to be successful in this.
Man, I tell you, if I could put like 5 stars across the screen right now, I'd do it, brother. Because you're hitting home runs right now. I had a podcast not too long ago, and I made a comment. And after I made the comment, I had to take a step back and listen to what I actually said, because it actually made sense. Not that I don't say stuff that makes sense. But
Sometimes
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's You made a key point. You say these dots,
Mhm.
for lack of a better term, these dots demand respect.
Right.
Just what it is. It's the
Correct.
nature of the beast.
Correct.
Not an arrogant statement. It's just a military way.
It's just the way it
You know,
is.
if a O6 shows up, that O6 is going to get, full bird colonel respect just
Absolutely.
by showing up.
Absolutely.
One of the things I made mention of previously, and and I know you've seen this too, where two people just meet and they shake hands and they greet each other,
Mhm.
and not only with the greeting, they start giving each other their resumes.
Yes.
Verbal resume back and
Right
forth.
there in front of you.
And one of the things that I found myself saying not too long ago, the titles that I've acquired,
Mhm.
the certifications that I took, the letters behind my name, all of that great stuff,
Mhm.
that's just a testament of the things that I've done.
Right.
But you need to get to know the person. Once you get to know the person, you'll find out that the letters to me mean nothing,
Right.
right? The relationships is what makes me the person that I am.
Mhm.
Because I don't take the letters and throw them at you and say, respect that.
Right.
No. First, I'm going to come towards you and respect you first,
Mhm.
right? I'm going to respect you first because
Mhm.
that's the right way to do it. I'm not going to come to you and demand respect.
Right.
I'm going to respect you first.
Right.
Then what should happen is reciprocity.
Correct.
Right. So I respect you first. Next thing that I respect is exchange. And what you have is what I tend to call a perfect ballet, an orchestra of respect going back and forth between two grown men, man and woman and woman, whatever that environment looks like,
Mhm.
because we respect the person first. Once we get to know each other, not only do we respect the person, but we respect what the person respects.
Mhm.
So now that I understand that you're married, soon to be married, whatever,
Mhm.
I respect her.
Right.
Why? Because she is an extension of you.
Correct.
That's what relationship mandates.
Correct.
So now, here's the other part about it. No one can say anything foul to me about Brian Parks or her
Right.
because relationship mandates that we defend that. Well, the leadership world is a lot like that.
Mhm.
And a lot of people don't realize it.
It is.
Like, as a leader, one of the things I need to be able to do is support my people.
Mhm.
That's why I'm the leader,
Mhm.
right? I need to be able to go and attract and fight for, have necessary conversations so that you guys can do the things that you need to do, the things that you get paid to do.
Correct.
Trust me, there's always somebody that's sitting in the office that make more money than both you and I that's trying to pull some of the resources and get you to do the same job for less.
For less. Right.
For less.
That's true.
Or with less. And so what leaders have to do, leaders have to go have those hard conversations and fight for their people. Now, reciprocity,
Mhm.
if I'm going to fight for you, you best believe I'm going to come to you and say, okay, this is what I need from you.
Right.
and
No
that's okay.
question.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. So man, this is good. And I know we kind of got a little off topic with making that mental shift, but really it's not if you think about it. Because it's the same thing we did in the Army,
Mhm.
right? We took care of our soldiers, we fought for resources for them, but then by that same token, we demanded, excellence from them.
Correct.
Whatever that looked like based upon, what they understood excellence to be.
Mhm.
Well, we transition, it's the same thing as well.
Mhm.
So making that mental shift, going back, understanding I'm not going to be the leader up front.
Mhm.
Let me go back and be led.
Mhm.
And my capacity to be led helps somebody else to understand that they have a high leadership capacity. So now I can take you and put you in the forefront, and you're not going to abuse the people. Why? Because you know how to build relationships and cultivate relationships. And that's really what it's all about.